Welcome everyone to Yoga Basics. Today we are focusing on a practice called Yin Yoga. This is based on the principles in the book Yin Yoga by Paul Grilley. So you've probably heard of the term yin and yang. So yang exercise is a broad term that includes not only yoga, but any exercise which focuses on moving the blood and stimulating the muscles. So examples would be running, swimming, or biking. So yang yoga would be a practice which invigorates and refreshes the body. Yin Yoga is the balance to these yang activities. Yin Yoga calms and soothes us and restores the balance that we've lost in everyday living. So having both yin and yang activities are important aspects to healthy living. All right, so the poses that we're going to be practicing, we have all done before, except for the wall poses that we'll be doing. The difference is we're going to be holding each pose for a minimum of 1 minute. So it's very important that you listen to your body. If at any time you feel discomfort or pain, then you want to modify what we're doing or completely back off of it. So therefore, you do want to be able to bring your mat up to a section of wall. So if you need to pause the video for a second and reposition yourself, go ahead and do that now. If you have 2 blocks handy, that also will be great. All right. So welcome again to Yoga Basics. And sitting comfortably, either up on your folded blanket or sitting on a block, we'll just take a few moments to prepare for the practice by relaxing the body and then warming up the joints. So closing the eyes and turning the attention inward, shutting out the busyness and chaos of the day. And then taking 2 deep cleansing breaths. So take a nice big inhale through the nose and exhale it all out by blowing or sighing it out. And one more nice big inhale and exhale it all out. And then soften the muscles of the face. Relax the muscles of the neck and the shoulders. And then turn the attention to the breath. Notice the inhale. And notice the exhale. And then we'll begin a nice, even breathing, inhaling and exhaling to a count of 4. So inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4. And just continue with this nice, even breathing. And then we also set an intention for each practice to help remind us why we are here. So that may be a benefit you would like to receive, or just an uplifting or a positive thought or a phrase. So think of an intention that you'd like to have for your practice today. And then with your next inhale, go ahead and lift your head and open your eyes. If you do have your legs crossed and you want to switch your legs, go ahead and do that. And then we'll begin our warm-up by turning to look out over that right shoulder and coming back to center and turning to look out over the left and coming back to center, dropping the chin to the chest, and then lifting that chin up towards the ceiling and jutting that lower jaw out. And coming back to center and dropping the right ear to the right shoulder. And back to center and left ear to left shoulder. And back to center, extending the hands out in front, open and close the fingers. And then some wrist circles. And reverse. Good, and then bringing the hands back to the lap, we'll do some shrugs. And the next time you pick those shoulders up, roll them to the back. And then bringing the shoulders back to neutral, extending the elbows, bringing the fingertips together. And then without moving the torso, just lifting one elbow and then the other. Good. And then bringing the hands back down, take the right hand, place it to the outside of the right hip, and then inhale, sweep the left arm up, and exhale, nice easy bend to the right. And then coming back to center, switching hands, inhale, sweep the right arm up, and exhale, bending to the left. And then inhale back to center, release the right arm. Left hand will go on the right knee. Inhale to lengthen the spine, and then exhale, bring that right hand around behind you as you turn to look out over that right shoulder. Good, then exhale back to center, switch hands, right hand on the left knee as you inhale, and then exhale, turn and look to the left. Good, and then exhale back to center. If you had your legs crossed, go ahead and extend them, shake them out a little bit. Placing your hands behind the right thigh and then pulling that knee in towards you and extending it out. And then the next time you pull the knee in, hold it there, point and flex the foot. And then some ankle circles. And reverse. Good. Place that right leg down and same thing on the left. And as you pull that knee in, hold it there, point and flex the foot. And circles. And reverse. Good. And then coming onto hands and knees. And if you would like to open up your blanket, go ahead and do that. So as you come into hands and knees, wrists are underneath the shoulders, knees are stacked under the hips, and we'll come into cat-cow. So with an inhale, lift the chest to the sits bones, arching the spine. With the exhale, rounding the spine, dropping the chin to the chest. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Inhale, cow. And exhale, cat. And once more, inhale and exhale. Good. And coming back to neutral. So from here, we're going to start our yin practice. If you do have those two blocks, grab them, bring them to either side of the top of the mat. So we're going to come into that low lunge. Again, the blocks will help if you don't have to have the blocks. So if you don't have them, don't worry about it. You'll shift the weight over to the left leg. You're going to pick the right foot up, and remember, you can always reach back and grab that ankle, bring it forward. Now, you're going to get your torso lifted, walk your right toes forward a little bit because you want to sink the hips down towards the mat. So you can place your hands on the block. So my hips are in front of that back right knee. You can also place your hands on your knee and hold here. So we're going to hold this for 1 minute. So come back to that nice, even breathing. And in a lot of these poses, remember, if you feel any pain or discomfort, please modify them or take a break if that minute seems too long. Again, here you could use your blocks to help support the upper body. But mainly you should feel this in the front of the left thigh. Good, so we're stretching out that left leg. I think I said right leg before. My hips are in front of my left knee rather than the right knee. All right, about 10 more seconds. Good. All right, let's switch sides. So bring that right leg back. Either step or help bring that left foot forward. Again, use your blocks if you have them, dropping the hips down. Now my hips are in front of my right knee. Or you can place your hands on top of that left knee. Just make sure your left knee is not going past your toes. All right, here we go. 1 minute here. Good, you're about halfway. All right, go ahead and step that left foot back. Now, the next pose I'm going to show you a number of modifications for. This is a great pose for stretching the front of the thighs. It's called Virasana, or Paul calls it saddle pose. Now, depending on the flexion that you can get in your knee and the flexibility of the quad, you may be doing different variations of it. So let me show you the first one. You can keep your padding here on the mat. So you're going to widen your knees. You can see my big toes are touching. And then I send my hips back so I'm sitting on my heels. And then I would sit here for my 1 minute. If this is too much stretching here in the thighs and the knees, try your block between your feet. So when I come down, I'm sitting on my block. So I'm still getting a nice stretch here, but it's not quite as intense. Those are two options for you. If those don't work for you, then you can come down on the mat. I'm actually going to put my blanket to the side here. So we have done this particular stretch before. Come down on your side, bend your top knee and hold on to that knee. So again, you're getting that stretch. Try to send the knee back, and that'll deepen the stretch in the front of the thigh. You can also have that leg folded, roll on your back, and do this laying on your back. Here, you can also bend this other knee if that's a little more comfortable on your back. So I want you to pick whatever variation is best for you. If this is too much for that knee flexion, if you've had a knee replacement and you can't quite get that flexion, then maybe this particular pose you'll need to sit out. Okay, so I'm going to stay here since I'm already down. So I'm going to do 1 minute here, and then I'll do 1 minute on the other side. If you're sitting upright, then you'll be there for 2 minutes. All right, here we go. 1 minute here. And sometimes I bring my arms up overhead to get a stretch through the torso also. A few more seconds. All right, let's switch legs. So if you were on your side, then you're going to roll on the other side. Grab that other leg, Try to push the knee back so that it's in line with your other knee. Or you can have this and lay on your back. Or you're sitting upright, kneeling, and putting your hips on your heels. You're welcome to do that too. Either one is going to stretch that thigh. All right, here we go, 1 minute. About 20 more seconds. And just come back to your nice, even breathing. All right, go ahead and release. Now, if you have been kneeling and sitting either on the block or your hips on your heels, then go ahead and roll onto your side and lower yourself down to the mat. And then come to laying supine, so on your back. So everybody now is laying on the mat, on their back. And we're going to start by pulling the left knee into our chest. And we're just going to hold here for about 5 breaths, maybe about 30 seconds or so. So let me my watch. Good, and then we'll switch legs. It's the same thing. Just pull that right knee in, hug it in. And again, we'll stay here about 30 seconds, probably about 5 to 8 easy breaths. Good. So as you relax out that right leg, bend the left knee again, pull it in, and now we'll have both knees that we're hugging into the chest. Again, for about 5 to 8 breaths or about 30 seconds. Good. All right, bring your feet down to the mat, and then we're going to roll on our side. Use that top hand to push yourself back up to a seated position. And then we're going to come onto hands and knees. And then walk your knees back so that they're past your hips. And then lower yourself down to the mat. So extending those legs out behind you. Go ahead and lift each leg up and reach through the big toe. Do one leg at a time. And then rotate the thigh inward. So when you lay your leg back down, your ankle falls out to the side. Now, we're going to do a little modification here. We're actually going to come into Sphinx pose. It's a milder back bend. In the book, Paul has us extending our hands further forward and pressing into our hands and lifting up here. If you want to try that, you can. It's a much more, I don't want to say intense, but just more of a back bend in that lower back. You're going to feel it more in the low back. So I thought just staying here in Sphinx is a nice, easy back bend for us to hold for that longer period of time. So make sure your elbows are right underneath your shoulders. Hands are in line with the elbows. And you're pressing into those forearms to lift the chest. Keep the neck in line with the spine as you gaze forward. I'm going to check my watch here. Good. So we have 1 minute here. If you pull the tailbone down towards your heels, that will help to take some pressure off that low back. Come back to your nice, even breathing. About 20 more seconds. Good, and then from here, we're going to slide our hands back under the shoulders. Go ahead and drop your chest down. Curl your toes, and then push into your hands as you lift the torso. And then we're going to come into child's pose. So sending the hips back to the heels, and then supporting your head. So you can either fold your hands in front of you, or you can stack your fists. If your block is nearby, placing your forehead on your block. And just placing your hands here. And again, we'll be staying here for about a minute. About 20 seconds. Good, and then go ahead and lift your torso. And we're going to swing those lower legs to the side and come back down on the mat. So rolling onto your side, lowering yourself down. And we're going to come into a twist. So laying on our back, keeping the knees bent, feet on the floor. Take your right leg and cross it over the left. And then extending the arms out to the sides, drop the knees to the left. Now you may want to experiment as to where your knees are. If you extend the knees out a little bit, you're going to feel it a little more in that low back. So if you pull the knees up so they're more in line with your hip, that will take a little tension out of the low back. Good. All right. And continue to breathe. About 20 seconds. Good, and then with your inhale, bring those legs back to center. Uncross the right leg. Get those hips centered. Cross the left. If it feels better, you can shift the hips a little bit to the left before you drop the knees down to the right. You can even place your right hand on your left knee if you'd like. Left arm is extended. Try to keep the left shoulder on the mat. All right, here we go. About 10 more seconds. Good, and then bring the legs back to center and cross that left leg. And then again, roll onto your side, pushing yourself back up to your seated position. If you would like to sit on one of your blankets, go ahead and grab that. All right, so for this next one, we're going to extend the left leg a little bit on the diagonal. So this would be straight out in front of me, and I'm going to take it just a little bit to the side. I'm going to fold my right leg so that my foot comes in towards my groin. All right, now we're just going to do a little forward bend here, but I want you to not round that low back. So we're just going to hold this here. You can have your hand on your shin. If you're a little more flexible, maybe you're holding onto your toes. Again, you're paying attention to that low back though. You're bending from the hip. If you need to stay upright here, then just stay upright. All right, we'll take a few breaths here again, about 30 seconds or so, or 5 to 8 breaths. Good. And then coming back up, we'll switch legs. So left leg comes in, right leg again, you're on that about 45 degrees. So just out on that diagonal. If you can hold on to your toes without rounding the back, then you can. But we're just going to do a little pelvic tilt, coming forward a little bit. Just hold on to your shin. The other hand can come here in front to support you. Again, keeping that back straight and breathing. Good, and then go ahead and bring the torso back up. Now, keeping the left knee bent, go ahead and bend the right knee, and we're going to bring the soles of the feet together. Now, you don't have to slide them all the way in as close as you can. Extend them out a little bit. And then holding onto your ankles, again, you're going to come back to that pelvic tilt, but keeping the back straight. Especially that low back is what you're focusing on. Good, and then take a few breaths here. Stay here about 20 more seconds. Good. And then go ahead and release. So now we're going to come over to the wall. So let me get my blocks out of the way here. So the first thing I'm going to do is to show you how to get your legs up on the wall. So make sure you have the short end of the mat up against the wall. And then you're going to sit to one side of the mat. So in this case, I have my right hip up against the wall. And I'm up towards the edge of the mat because when I lay down, I want to have some room to move my hips. Now, I'm going to roll onto my side and then swing my legs up on the mat. Now, you'll probably have to shift yourself a little bit. For the first exercise, you don't want your hips up next to the wall. So you want to be probably about 4 to 6 inches away from the wall, your hips. And you'll see why in a moment. So extending your legs up the wall, the first pose that we're going to come into is, we know it as our reclined pigeon. So we'll take the right foot, you're going to cross it over the left thigh, and then as you bend the left knee, start to slide that left foot down the wall. Now, the closer you are to the wall, the more intense this is going to be. That's why we have our hips away a little bit. So you're going to experiment with this left foot or left heel. Like it, obviously, the further down you bring that heel, the closer that right lower leg is going to come into your chest. So find a good spot here, and we're going to hold. So we have 1 minute here. About 20 more seconds. Good. All right, go ahead and release the right leg and we'll try it on the other side. So taking that left foot, cross it over the right thigh, and then begin to experiment as to where you need to have that right foot. All right. And again, just that nice, even breathing. About 20 more seconds or so. All right, go ahead and slide that right heel up the wall and cross the left leg. Now, for the next two, we do want to have our hips now fairly close to the wall. So you're going to have to do this little hip shuffle and bring your bottom closer to the wall. So I'm probably about an inch or so away from the wall. All right, so this next pose is called frog. So you're going to bend both knees, slide your feet down the wall. Now again, maybe you're only here. You're going to have to listen to your body and only do the range of motion that you can do. If you're okay bringing them down, then what you're going to do is take your hands, bring them to the inside, hold on to your ankles, and then see if you can walk your feet a little wider so that your feet are in line with your knees. And then you're going to hold here. It's kind of like a deep squat, only you're using the wall for support. About 10 more seconds. So our last wall posture, we're just going to extend the legs up the wall, having them about hip width apart. Just having the arms alongside the body, turning the palms up, and just resting here in our true legs up the wall. And taking a minute here. About 10 seconds. So to come off of the wall, just bend your knees and then roll onto your side. Use that upper hand to support you as you push yourself back up into a seated position. And then our last pose that we're going to do, bring yourself to the middle of your mat. And this is called pentacle. So you're going to lower yourself down to the mat, roll onto your back, and then you're going to extend your legs, but you're going to widen your legs, and then you're going to widen your arms. Have the palms facing up, and we're just going to rest here for about a minute, maybe a little bit longer. And then go ahead and just bring those legs together. Extend the arms up overhead, clasp your hands, and just have a nice big long stretch. And then release the arms alongside the body. Just take a few breaths here. When you're ready, bend the knees, rolling onto your right side. Pushing yourself back up into your seated position. I hope you've enjoyed a little sampling of Yin Yoga, and I thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste.